This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order of the General Services Committee. It is 4:30. It is July 26th. And can we have roll call, please?
Chair Oropesa,
Here.
Vice Chair Moore,
Here.
Member Counselor Halverson.
Here.
Member Counselor Sanchez.
Absent?
No. Chair, you have a quorum.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? And if you'd like to include the approval of the minutes for May the 24th as well, that'd be okay.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda for July 26th as well as the minutes for May 24th.
Yes. A motion and a second, motion by Councilor Halverson, second by Councilor Sanchez. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to the action items. The review and ranking of top 2 capital projects from various departments to be included in the 2025 to 2029 infrastructure capital improvement plan. Who's going to take this one? Okay.
Councilors. So we're going to review the capital project for the 2025 to 2029 infrastructure capital improvement plan. And it's to establish the planning priorities for anticipated capital projects. The ICIP process encourages entities to plan for the development of capital improvement. And the plan covers a 5-year period from 2025 to 2029. The deadline to submit everything is going to be August 18. The intent for the list is to allow for discussion and decision among staff and city council on which projects are prioritized for funding, processes and or actions to consider, committee recommendations of the top projects and ranking to the full city council for adoption of fiscal year 25 to 29 ICIP list for submission in August. Submission for legislative priorities for the 2024 New Mexico State Legislature in December. It's a 30-day session. It begins January 16th. January 16th, 2023. So the capital projects that we are going to be looking at are for general services, and I believe we're starting with the library first. That would be Enid.
Just a correction.
Yes, sir.
Legislature 2024.
For 2024, yeah, I have 2023 in here, so I wasn't sure. I knew it was for next year, but.
Yeah. So library,
Do you have the?
yeah,
Okay, so you have it in front of you. So capital improvement projects for the Roswell Public Library are very different from this year, from last year. Last year was talking about our roof repair, filters, and then also some air conditioning issues. But we use general capital funds to do the roof repairs. It was successful. The last time I met, we had a leak, but the leaks have all been taken care of. The air filters were paid for with American Rescue Plan funds, and we used library general funds to replace various equipment. Thanks for Justin giving us a good, really super deal. We were able to do that, and we are one of the cool places in the library in the city. So now I'm kind of looking at some long-range planning, and I had originally wanted to present information about the outdoor play and learning area and the outdoor programming and event area at the last general meeting, but that was canceled. So I would really appreciate it if that was brought before, I could bring that before you at the next meeting. We are working with a local architectural and design firm to create a schematic plan for the outdoor play and learn area and the outdoor library program and event area. Those are our top ones. The library bookmobile has lots of bells and whistles on it before milestones, before we can really get into that. That includes selling the house, getting permission to to hire someone. It's going to take 2 years for us to get the vehicle, even if I ordered it right today. So although that would be wonderful to be put on the CIIP, we're not going to be doing it this year. We're doing fundraising for the outdoor play and learn area. We're also be doing some fundraising, selling bricks for our outdoor learning program area. So my preference is the outdoor learning area, the library bookmobile, and the outdoor library program area or plaza.
Why would the truck, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
why would the bookmobile take so long to get?
That is what I've heard from the vendors, the supply line. What we're looking at is a cargo van, and then they would take it out and customize it and wrap it. But the vendors that I've talked to, they said 2 years
Wow.
from the day. Becky, can you kind of?
We're still dealing with COVID supply issues, and I've had this on order for 3 years. I'm still waiting for the to come in.
Okay.
I guess my question would be more to Mike than anybody else. The ICIP, when Joe was here, we had a long list, 300 plus list, and a short list, which was like 24, 25, and then the top 5.
Right.
So are we still going with that same concept?
Yes, sir. We still have the master list because we have many projects that has to be on that ICIP for different funding opportunities, whether it be federal, state, or whatever, to apply for grants for those. So it needs to be listed on our ICIP. This is what the department, there's their recommendation of the
Right.
top 3 priorities. Once the committees will combine that, and then that will, at the council meeting, you'll have your dots and you'll select the top 5 things that we will send up like we did last year or the last several years to the legislators to see if they'll fund those top 5 projects. We do still have the top 5, the list of 40-some projects that made the top 5, and then the overall 40 pages projects on the ICIP.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I understood it. Yes, ma'am.
So what happens like with last year's ICIP list, everything that was on it? Is it just, it's out now?
No, it's still on the list.
Okay.
All those projects are still, once they're on the list, the department head or council has removed that project, it's been completed, or it's no longer going to be done, that project's still on the list, on that master 40 pages,
Just indefinitely or?
until somebody pulls it off or it's not a need for it anymore.
Because my question is like, some of these, I think they're super important, but when we get the actual list, we have to put our dots on. There may be like infrastructure that's critical on there. And so her item might get pushed down. And how is she going to fund this without the ICP? Would you get more grants or?
But in order for her to apply for grants, many of them are required to
be
the
on
project to be on this list, somewhere on the list. Doesn't matter if it's in the top 5, top 40, or on the 40 pages. It's just got to be on our ICIP list.
Because I'd love to see these. I'm just worried they're going to get pushed out for critical projects. Yeah.
But we have had projects funded that never made the top 5. They were
Because it's- but
actually
they have to
not
be
in
on
the
the
top
list.
25 either.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
go ahead.
So for example, the makerspace and the library meeting rooms, those are going to be paid for with GEO bond money, but if they are on the list.
You can't apply if they're not on the list.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but it's different. It's being paid for. So if there might be a shortfall for those items, but it's on the list because then I can apply for other grants, even though I know that I have some grant money available to pay for.
Okay.
And a lot of these are, in my opinion, just a wish list
Yeah.
of what the departments would like to.
Wants versus needs.
Yes. So, any questions from the committee? Ms. Moore?
I
Councilor
have a
Moore?
question. What things on our last list got taken care of? Do you remember, Mr. Mike, do you know how many of the things that were on our list got taken that were able to remove because they were funded?
Mr. Chair, Councilor Moore, if I recall at the last, at the infrastructure meeting on Monday, Mr. Fuentes had a slide on that actually of our top 5. Maybe you can bring it up here. It showed what we asked for and what was actually funded. Yeah, we got it coming up right. Keep going, keep going. No.
It's a shortened presentation.
Yeah, it's a shortened presentation. It's not the same presentation. If I recall, Lewis, and maybe you can help me here, I'm thinking 3 of the top 5 projects received funding. Cop cars, police cars were actually on the junior bill.
Actually, all 5 got funding.
Yeah.
They're legislative or through a water trust board fund.
Trust board, but yeah, it was a trust board funding or a junior bill funding. But three of them were on the ICIP, and then 1 of them trust board and 1 of them junior bill.
But the majority were infrastructure.
Yeah. Does that answer your question, Councilor Moore?
Yes, it does, and I think it's probably in my packet that I didn't get. So thank you. That was just a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other committee member or committee member that would like to ask questions? If not, anybody in the audience have any questions or comments concerning the library? If not, we'll go to the next one.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
As you guys are going along, because clerk hasn't made the comment and hasn't been made by Elizabeth. As whoever's taking notes, make sure that you note the number 1 and number 2.
I'm doing that.
Okay, and then at the end of the presentation, you will need a motion from your committee to acknowledge those that goes to council.
Top 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're at outdoor play and then library bookmobile.
It's 1 and 2.
I think is that
library.
right?
That was 1, 2, and 3,
Okay.
right down the list.
Who's
Are you adding all 3 or are you just adding the
think
top
they-
2?
It's top 2 or 3.
top 2?
It's up to you.
Yeah, let's go top 2 because 3 is,
Too many.
This is my 3rd committee meeting to have the luxury of listening to this. Everybody's going with 2.
Okay.
next on the
Museum.
museum.
Caroline was not available today, so
I'm here.
we have Aaron available.
Hello, so only 2? All right. Caroline gave me 4, but we'll talk about 2. All right. So absolutely highest priority for us is, let's see, what is number
13.
That's
13?
what I told.
So the museum has a 50,000 square foot facility. We have a number of HVAC units that are constantly failing. So we have 4 units right now that are either completely broken or partially broken. And so that's what our highest priority is about $94,000 for replacement of those broken units. This is super important for us because this year we are going for reaccreditation with the American Alliance of Museums. So only about 10% of museums in the United States are accredited with AAM. So it's a huge feather in our cap and the city of Roswell's in general to have our museum accredited by this internationally renowned institution. And something that could be a problem for our reaccreditation is if we're unable to adequately care for our collections because our HVAC systems are working. So this is why this is our highest priority item right now. And then our number 2 is, so those of you might be familiar, we're about to start a flooring renovation that was approved over the last several weeks. So that is sort of the first step in our master planning architectural redesign. So some of the funds that Hewitt Zollers as our architect was hired to do was a master planning process and doing some preliminary drawings and sort of visioning exercises for reimagining our entrance and making us more visible in the public. So for Main Street and surrounding areas. So we're starting to do some of that, but we don't have the funds to complete all of these projects yet. And so one of them is to move the museum store from where it currently is, which is sort of in the middle of the museum to the front of the museum. And the reason it is where it currently is because the museum's entrance used to be on 11th Street. And so in the 90s, it moved to the convention center side. So the museum store will be better put to use if it's moved to the front, along with some facade improvements. And then we foresee it contributing much more to our revenues if we have it in a visible space in the museum. So those are the two main things. Unless I go on to 3 or 4, but we'll just leave it at 2.
Questions from the committee members? Mrs. Moore, you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
HVAC is one and museum store is two.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think that was item number 13 is number 1, and item number 3 is outside. I hope those numbers line up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you wish you had 21 million?
Elizabeth will on the master.
So
HVAC as number 1 and museum store as number 2.
Any comments from the public attending? Any comments from anybody that is online? If not, then I guess we'll move on to the next presenter.
That'd be Justin from facilities. Here. Yes.
Okay. My number 1 is going to be the roof here. The membrane has released from the decking, and the deck is really loose and wobbly. The membrane is relatively new. I know that it's under 6 years old, but it is not attached to the deck anymore. So when the wind really gets to whipping, I can see it flapping in the wind. So it won't take long for it to tear the membrane, and then we get roof leaks into the building. We don't have any roof leaks into the building right now, but it's not far behind.
That you know of.
That I know of. Well, that I know of. I haven't been told of any, but, and then, yeah, so that's my number 1. And then number 2 is pest control next door at the annex building. We have a massive pigeon problem. And their feces, their eggs, all of it, it runs down our roof drains and they clog up. So then when that happens, it floods into the building. So I get pigeon feces, water, liquid grossness that comes into the building. So then we have to deal with that. So what this company is proposing is to put, things that sit on top of the units. They're going to use things like chicken wire to go underneath the unit so they don't have a place to nest and clean the space. And then there's even talk of a audio that it sends out I don't know what you call it, but it's a chirp to them that says that it's a warning, I guess is what is the theory. So it's supposed to scare the birds off.
Don't nest.
All kinds of shiny things, but we're trying to do something to get the pigeons away from here.
Good luck. They've done so many different measures to find your bank and
And we're going to put the little things that stand up on the sides or the solar shocking zappy things, but there's a bunch of stuff, but it's quite a bit of money.
That's good.
We can't eat the cost right now.
They have cats.
You can have. No, why don't you put you could be the guy with the, whatever, what do they call that?
Yeah.
You could be that guy.
The thing that comes to mind when you're doing those kind of things is the animal organizations.
Yeah.
Whether you're going to get any pushback from.
So the options that we're using are humane. They're supposed to make them not want to stay there. It's not to hurt them, and there's no killing, there's no traps, there's none of that. It's to encourage them to go somewhere else because it's not now a comfortable place to stay. Because theory on life anyway. That's the theory. Yeah.
Go ahead.
on the roof here, it's not pitched. If we do this, can we pitch it a little bit?
We can work
It's
with
flat,
the
right?
decking, because the deck needs to be replaced. So that's part of it. And we can pitch it. It's technically flat. They call it flat, but it is pitched pipe, but it's less than 2%.
Oh,
I measured it. It's 2% right now.
But if you pitch it, it'll add to the cost.
No, it's the decking part. So it's a styrofoam decking that starts high on the high side and then it slants itself. So you just put a taller one on the top side and a skinnier one on the bottom side. So it will slant on top of the new deck. The deck is the important part because right now it's a wood deck and it flexes underfoot. And So that tells me we've got wood rot problems, which is a sign of water problems. So we really want to deal with that.
Anybody in attendance have any questions?
So the pigeons.
There's one over there.
Yeah, I would really like them not to go to the library.
I could put a sign on the roof. Yeah, you could put a sign if you want. I could do the same thing there. Don't send them to transit, you have problems. Yeah, pigeons everywhere.
They're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have raffles too.
If we do this with all of our buildings, they'll go to Walmart. That's not our problem.
Send them to the cemetery.
Thanks, Jim.
Anybody else in attendance? Anybody on online? Have any questions, concerns?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And if we'll move on to the next one, who's up?
1 and 2, City Hall, Annex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
City Hall and Annex.
Are you guys going with the 1 and 2 as listed on here?
Yes, the city hall roof and the annex.
Those are, yeah, I labeled it that way. Yep.
Next is Ruben with the cemetery.
Sure it's not Jim?
Ruben's gonna take the pages with him.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. So our 1 and 2 be first of all that the finishing off, we had the well dug last year, and we need to finish off by installing the pump, house, drop a loop, electrical loop to energize the pump. And the numbers there on the end, that doesn't match. I don't know what happened there, but that 850 should be instead of the 35,000. Okay?
Say that again?
So see up there on the column where it has 35,000?
Oh,
That should be the 850.
okay.
Okay?
The total project estimate.
Yes. And like I said, that's to finish off the well that was dug last year, and to come in with the pump, electricity, house, backflow preventer, all of that. And then our number 2 would be the, right there where you have replace irrigation. That's for the pipe to finish off the loop, the cemetery loop that we've been asking for years and years, to improve our volume and our pressure. With the cemetery growing, we just don't have enough with our existing pipe. That was installed back in the 1980s, so it's pretty dated. We just need more volume and pressure, so we can water simultaneous blocks. Right now, we're watering only 1 block at a time, and we have 92 blocks. So you can imagine we don't have enough in 24 hours.
That it?
That's it.
Questions?
So your number 1, you said there's already a well there, you just never.
Yeah, we drilled the well. The well's drilled.
But we never had a pump or anything for it?
No, we're just at that point right now.
And I'm all for number 2 because my stepmom's grave is dead because there's not enough water.
Rough and dry spots. There's no way of getting this way. Have this installed.
No. Yeah.
So install water well and replace the irrigation system.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I think Councilor Sanchez. If you can help us. I thought you had a comment that you wanted.
I think maybe his question, correct me if I'm wrong, was your question on the columnariums? And you're already working on that? So that's already in the design, the bid, and that project's moving forward.
Is that amount right?
Which one?
50 for the columbarium?
It's 835. It should be,
Number 4, you have number 4. Well,
yeah, it should be 835, not the 850.
oh, okay.
But that project's already moving forward. You've already got designs.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
We have a new contract and those monies are already in our capital budget. Here, I believe, it's the rescue fund monies. And we should hear from CES, the RFPs, we're working through that, we're changing the contracts, going out. Because it's true.
Council Moore, you have any questions? Council Moore, are you even on?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm good.
Okay. Anybody in the audience that have any questions or comments?
Just to clarify, we're looking at the cemetery install amount at 835. 835,000 is number 1.
850.
850,
850.
yes.
And then number 2 is what's noted as number 2.
The irrigation system.
Yeah, irrigation at 200,000, correct.
Anybody attending online have any comments or questions? If not, we'll go on to the next one. Thank you, Ruben.
I have Jim with Parks.
Yeah, with Parks.
Parks. Okay. The first one is marked down here, the West project update for $725,000. I believe that is in our capital budget right now. So we would jump to, what is number 2, asking for $535,000 to replace equipment in Cahoon. I actually red tagged a playground that's there now, I'm gonna take it out. It's one right beginning of Cahoon, where the trail goes underground. That playground there is extremely old and no longer meets code. So I had a report and I'm going to remove that. So we're asking for some additional funding to help us with that. And then the number 3 comes number 2 in this neighborhood park trail upgrades. A lot of our new parks now have trails around them. Thank you, Lewis. So we're going to try to catch up on some of the other ones and ask for $250,000 to maybe put a trail in 1 or 2 other parks. So 1 is equipment replacement.
And those.
And 2 would be
Yeah.
Is this that building that is right there by the
Cielo Grande.
in Cielo Grande?
Yeah, Cielo Grande building right at the end. There's a parking lot there and a playground.
Yep.
Not Cielo Grande, Cahoon, I'm sorry, Cahoon Park.
The one that you have is number 1.
Yes.
This is number 1 now.
Yeah, West Garage is next to the soccer
He
field.
has funding in this capital budget, he said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the building by the soccer field.
So you changed the number 2 to number 1?
Yep.
And then number 3 to number 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions? Questions from the committee members?
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez?
Yeah, Field Sports Complex improvements.
Okay, is it under parks or athletic fields? Okay.
It's under parks.
All right, parks.
Replacing.
Athletics and parks.
Under both.
It's under both, so that would be under the athletic fields.
Well,
Parks department is the one taking care of it.
right, but it's talking about the replacement of the entire irrigation system, playground equipment and lighting.
Yes, sir. And that's been on the list for a while. That would, I don't see that listed on there, but let me look, turn to the next page. That's the group.
It's on your,
It's different. So the one on Park,
Field lighting, number 1, field lighting improvements.
it's different.
All
This
fields
is
and parking
irrigation
lots
stuff.
at Charleston State, Southwest, or
Light.
2 main.
No, but this one, at the top of this page. The athletics?
Yeah. Oh, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Complex improvements, replace the entire irrigation system. So that would be number 2, athletics.
Yeah, I see that. Look it up. This is the same one. This is number 2.
Yeah.
What's number one for athletics? Oh, I see it. It's on the other page.
Lighting.
Mr. Chair, may I comment on that?
Sure.
We did an assessment, we walked around, I believe it was like last. Okay, and we identified the most important thing on all the athletic fields is the lighting. The lighting is on the old wooden poles, and they're getting, it's gonna become a safety issue very soon. So that's why that one is number one. We went and we assessed every single field, and every single field had lighting on it. So that's why we put that as the number one. Then after that became the irrigation and the upgrades to sites.
Are we combining to the parks and the athletic fields? Or are we doing it as separate? Okay, so let's take care of the parks then, and then we'll address the athletic fields. So for the parks, we've got item number 2 listed on the chart as number 1. And then we got item number 5 listed as number 2.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
And, so does anybody have any questions over those 2 items? Committee members or individuals in the audience? Individuals attending by telephone or online? Doesn't seem like it. So let's go to the next one. You have a question?
Yeah.
The styles?
That's from the next.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
We're still on this one.
I think we just finished, so.
Yeah, we're on the next.
Okay. We're okay?
Ready?
Okay, let's go to the next one. These are athletic fields. Okay, so we can have a rewind.
Okay, so number 15 is our number 13 is our number 1, the athletic field lighting. Number 1 is our number 2. That's the Styles Field Sports Complex improvements. What we had done after we had gone to look at every single field, we put it on this list. Okay. And then that's when we combined, we noticed that every field had the lights, and that's when we combined that.
So the lighting for number 1, would that cover the lighting for number 2?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Because you'll see it in every one of these. If you kind of read the note on every one of them, it has the lighting.
Okay.
But the last one put it all together.
Yeah.
So that.
But if I understand it correctly, what you have here is field lighting improvements for all fields and parking lot. Lighting for Charlie McVeigh Complex.
I think that's
Okay, field lighting improvements for all fields and the parking lot lighting.
When you say all fields, are we talking about, what exactly are you talking about?
Okay, so that's, can I read down the list real quick?
Sure.
So that would be Randy Willis Field, Noon Optimist, Joe Baldwin Stadium, Hope Horn, Styles Field, the Wolbo softball, and Cielo Grande soccer, and then the Charlie McVeigh softball, the parking lots.
This doesn't include the east side, because you got two fields over there.
No, sir, it did not. Because they were not, when we did this assessment, east side was not in play at that time.
But they're being used as practice fields.
That's all, yeah.
I need to ask a question right now to Justin. And maybe both of you will have the answer. And I might be wrong, but it's my understanding that all these fields have wooden poles now. But when something goes south, I'm not allowed to put wooden poles back. They have to be metal. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess what we're saying is all of our ball fields that have wooden poles, here pretty soon, when they need replaced, they have to have metal. So it's kind of thing that we'll have to take care of eventually.
Because the big field doesn't have lighting either, right?
Nope, I think so. a great big one right across from,
So are they included in this?
Yeah, because
They
if,
have wood poles.
they have the
Some
wood
not in
poles,
one
yeah.
field. One field.
The one far west.
the far west one does not.
The youth field does not have any lighting. And we were trying to get creative and utilize some of the lighting from the other fields and pointed at it, and that just wasn't going to be effective for us. So that was part of the quote.
So they are included on
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because in my notes, it lights are outdated, need replacement. In parentheses, I do have the Pee Wee has none. And so that is included.
So my next question would be, how are you going to prioritize who gets lighting first, second, third? And
With y'all's help. And also, we're going to look and see too, I mean, the condition of the poles, you know, and weigh into safety factor first. And then if there's, I mean, if y'all, however we would like to weigh in on that one.
Yeah, I think the condition of the poles take priority.
Yep.
Well, if you have wooden poles, obviously those are going to take priority. But when you have the metal poles, like Charlie McVeigh fields, they all have metal poles already. And what I'm reading here is a parking lot is what you're trying to address.
They had asked, the parking lot gets awfully dark after the games, and they had asked if we would consider adding lighting into that parking lot. That may be lower on the list. We can discuss it at that point and then come up with the ranking order of the fields.
Because in my opinion, I would ask the schools to see if they could help because they share the parking lot.
You bet, we'll ask anybody that can help. But in the event that the money is not there, we would like to proceed to ask for the amount.
I guess in my mind, I'm trying to get how you going to prioritize what field is going to come first. Whether is Charlie McVeigh's parking lot going to be last, first, second? What is your process of how are you going to determine?
Okay.
Jim?
Chair, what I say that we'd have to assess our risk. So we look at the public, how many people utilize that one field? Is it always packed or is it just a practice field? So we can kind of put it lower on the list, maybe get J&G or facility maintenance, give us a list of which ones they think are the worst, you know, and go that way. As far as the parking lot goes, maybe we can negotiate with the city, maybe turn a couple of lights there from the wool pole onto the parking lot, something like that. Or if we fix one of the ball fields, we stick a light that direction. So I do agree with what they're saying. The parking lot is dark. But maybe we could change some angles. And but we probably rely on experts to tell us about the poles and not just flip the coin, but have J&G or someone take a look at which ones are rotted. And maybe, you know, I would prefer, since that's going to take wiring, replace the lights, wire it, pole, infrastructure. Lewis, I'm going to need some stuff underground to hold them up. And we do one field at a time. Do it that way, which is the worst one. And not just it's almost fixed, but to do the entire field in that order.
Okay. Any other comments, questions anybody has? If not, we go to, yes, ma'am.
So that total for lighting is enough for all of those fields? That number didn't seem really, really high, so I was just, that number that you said for all lighting for all fields, that includes the lighting to fix all those fields, is in that number?
That's my understanding, $2.3 million for athletic field lighting.
Yep. That's what, yeah, that's a total.
For all the fields on the first page.
Would you like them to update that?
Can you, yeah,
I think it's important to identify.
can you, when you turn this in later, can you, if you don't mind,
Sure.
list the fields that would, you look at considering trades?
The east side is not included, no, sir.
Yeah, but if you can list what is,
I will list, but just to make that clear, east side is not included.
So can it be included? Before you turn the number in, you had 2 million already, right? Add 200 million, 175, you know.
My bad, it is included. Sorry, lights are outdated for 420,000. It is, it's Pocorn. I was looking for the name east side. So the Pocorn field is included.
Because you only have, you have one that has already lights, and you have one that doesn't have any lights.
So which one is it?
Boone Optimus has a field that is missing, that doesn't have lights.
Right.
Pocorn has lights and the poles are wonky and they need to be replaced, but also so does Nuna. So we're gonna have to identify which poles are the worst, but east side Pocorn is included in the total.
Okay, but I want to make sure that I understand. East side, you have 2 fields.
1, 2, 3, 3.
But actually you have 3, but it's a peewee field that really isn't.
Yeah.
There are lights closer to the road for the Pee Wee field that shine down on it. But there are some behind the dugout. Concession.
You got one right by the concession stand,
Yes, sir.
and then you got one on the east side of that field.
There's also one in the parking lot.
Well, the parking lot is the peewee field. It's on the parks.
The park side, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you have a big field on the east side, right by the bridge.
There is one close to where that alley, I don't know what you call it, the alleyway or the breezement, or there is one at the end of that.
It has no lights at all.
No lights on it, but there is a pole there.
I don't know about I haven't seen a pole.
so which one, that doesn't have lights?
This is the one by Farmers. This is the one that I'm talking about. And so as far as Councilor Moore, the question Councilor Moore has asked is, are you going to include Pocorn fields, all fields, not just one field?
Yes.
Okay.
All of the fields at Pocorn.
Did you get that, Councilor Moore?
Yes, thank you. I just feel if you're gonna say all fields, then mean all fields, and
Okay. Anything else? I guess not. We'll go on to the next one. Golf? That's what I got in my list. And who's going to take that one?
Me, I guess. Yeah, Eric's out of town, so we have 1 and 2 for the pro shops and 1 and 2 for maintenance. I'm gonna look at that, the 2 separate interviews.
Why do 1 and 2 and just?
For lighting.
You tell me how you want to,
I mean, I didn't.
you want to include,
1, 2, you know, so. Get 4. You get everybody's money. You get everybody's money. So
we're talking strictly golf now. Just a golf information, and the other one is,
all right, let's do this. This is pick 2.
Okay,
okay, that sounds better.
thank you.
So if I were to actually talk to Justin, he would want to put a roof on there because it's, I think, the oldest one in the city.
It's older than me, Jim.
I think it should be on your list. So construction, New Nancy Lopez, nope, wait a minute. I'm gonna need a cart barn because you just let us buy some golf carts.
So what are you picking for number 1? You're rambling.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that.
The roof.
What the roof? The roof's not on there.
Yeah, it's
the last one.
Pro shop roof.
Oh, gosh. What does it say? Leaks.
roof.
Pro shop roof, there you go. $850,000. You notice I didn't put a number on that. but
That's number 1?
That should be number 1.
Okay.
Number 2 has to be the cart barn to protect our investment there.
Where?
Number 4 is number 2, which is the cart barn. And the very most important thing is the first one, the pro shop.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any questions from committee members?
So if we don't have a card barn, are our cards gonna be out in the sun, the new ones we just bought?
No. You can always work things through, but you have new carts. And cart barns are old, right? And we also added a beverage cart and a deal to pick up all the golf balls. So to keep everything right there, we want to extend our cart barn and make it not leak.
Okay.
So it's kind of important.
Any other questions from committee members? If not, questions from the public, the attendance.
I have a question. Jeff, on the pro shop and the car barn, are they on the same building connected?
No, just separate a little bit.
Are they?
It's just have electric utilities hooked together, electricity and that kind of stuff. I don't think.
Because I was gonna say you could combine those as one project and just say pro shop and then have it replace the roof and the cart barn, and then you can have a second one that goes.
So that's kind of cheating.
No, we combine, no,
Go ahead, Mrs. Moore.
we combined a couple last time. That's not cheating. It's the same thing. It's not cheating.
The same amount of money.
Okay, I agree. We'll cut the roof and the cart barn is one. And then the second one be the wash drains and wash the new cars. We want to, by law, get a put a little roof. So rainwater doesn't get in the storm sewer, by this storm sewer, so they can wash the new cars and they're not washing in the puddle.
Okay, we got 1A and 1B.
Number two.
No.
When I connect the city hall and the annex then?
No.
They're close enough.
All right,
Try to connect the two buildings.
let's go to the next one. Who's up next?
The zoo.
Okay.
Sue.
Yeah. Basically what I've been hearing for the past year is train, carousel, and the pond. So I made those my 3 objectives for review. As of last week, Jim, I think I told you to replace the train rail was about $180,000 and $80,000 just for the steel. So some of that we can do in-house if we had to, but having someone come in and knock it all out would be my preferred deal. So that project is done and completed. So we combined the new train. The new trains are electric. Our train was built in the late 60s. It was probably the 3rd or 4th oldest running train. So it's $250,000 roughly for the train if we were to replace that. So we were looking at about $100,000 for the steel and some installation. So we looked at that one. Carousel upgrades, that's also a big one, but looking back on it right now is that's also something that maybe we can reach out to area civic groups to potentially help sponsor with getting that fixed up and art type people.
So your number one is which one?
Right now, my number one would probably be the train.
Okay.
And then followed by the pond, which I presented about a year ago to this group. That involves basically reworking the pond, any infrastructure that needs to go in for like bathrooms, toilets, shelters, picnic tables, safety measures and whatnot. So that was about $750,000 when I presented it to you. So a little bit of improvement there. And then, like I said, the carousel is important, but I think we can probably work that a different way, but it's got to be those top 3 based on everything I hear.
So, okay, let me make sure I understand. Number 6, which we have listed as number 6 becomes number 1.
Correct.
And number 3 becomes number
2. Yep, and 7.
Any questions from committee members?
I do.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I honestly think that I have a quick question first. So if they get a new train, can they stay the old train like they did the rocket that would sit somewhere there as a museum piece or something of some kind that can sit in the lot somewhere? Is that possible?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like that, but I honestly think, I don't know why I think the pond should be first and then the train, but I know that the kids love the train more, but most people went to there for the pond. So I kind of like pond one, train two, even though I know how important the train is to the kids, and being it working would be very, very important. So I don't know. But I think the pond is more important, but the kids would probably think the train is more important. That's it.
Okay. Anybody in the audience or present have any questions or concerns? Yes, sir.
You want to recognize at this time, we're talking about monies and stuff at the carousel. We have some volunteers that have been doing a fantastic job taking care of these horses. And you saw the one at the museum. And we just bought some more paint materials and some woodworking materials today for Iris. It's a cat, like the mountain lion, and another horse that are at the wood shop at the adult center that they're coming about. So we got the lead horse, I know you got the chariots that they've redone. And so I wanted to give them kudos, and we're doing this. They've done a great job.
And a newly donated horse too, on top of that.
Yeah.
Anybody joining us online have any comments? Now we'll go to the next one. Recreation.
The number one is the rec center gym floor resurfacing. Number two is the bottom one, recreation aquatic center shower stalls remodel. If you remember, I went before this committee asking for both of those, and then we had the mold remediation that took some of the place on that. And so I added it to the list this year. I was given a quote to go back and do it, how the surface is right now on that gym floor is $71,000, but that surface really did not hold up. So this is why Justin and I added more monies to that to see if we could get a better product.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
The gym isn't that old. I guess the people that built it, we can't get anything back out of that.
I tried.
Yeah.
They laughed at me.
It just seems that you use subpar material in the first place, you know?
Yeah. It's not an epoxy base. It's a softer material, so it is easily scuffable. And once you get a tear or something grind up, now it just rolls.
Yeah.
Like a fruit roll up. So that's what it's doing. It's just not hard enough to take the beating that we give it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why the other product is an epoxy base.
Get what you pay for, right?
Indeed. Concrete. There's concrete underneath. It squeaks. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It squeaks. It squeaks.
Any questions, committee members?
I'm kind of like her. I feel like these floors, that building's not old enough to should be replacing the floor already. That's ridiculous. It's not even, when you know that there was the only recreation place, the only sports place, and then you put the cheapest floor you can find in there, that's dumb. But so I agree with going with a little higher quality floor, so that in 2-3 years we're not already replacing the floor. I want to say that's ridiculous one more time, just so y'all understand that I feel like that's ridiculous.
Yes, ma'am, we hear you.
I need a motion. For all of it.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Anybody in attendance have any questions or concerns that they want to address? Anybody online that is attending online have any questions? I kind of feel the same way. That rec center is not in the aquatic center. is not that old to have the problems that it's having. Whether, I don't know who is at fault, the architecture, the contractors, whoever it may be, but we shouldn't be having those kind of problems.
If you remember, Counselor, April 2018, I made a suggestion about the zoo. The first two problems I predicted we would have at the rec center would be the pool and the flooring.
Yeah. You know, and I think you may be having problems with the pool itself, right? Let me share an email that I got concerning the pool. Let's see if I can find it.
The indoor or outdoor pool?
The indoor. Actually, it wasn't an email. I was looking through the Facebook, the internet, and I just happened to run through this comment. The person that wrote it said, pool was pretty trashy and water murky today. Water cold as usual. She did not say, I don't know who she's talking about or he's talking about. She did not say she can't turn the heat up in the pool because she is not allowed because of budget. The vacuum was broke, so cannot clean pool, short on lifeguards. Not that it matters, most of them fall asleep on guard. What's on the,
What day was it?
I saw it today.
Okay.
I don't know when they made reference to it, but
I'll see what I can check on. I'm sorry, I've been on vacation since last Friday, so.
and I don't know, I don't know if they talked to somebody there. Apparently they did talk to somebody. But she makes reference to she. But it seems like, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm just saying that we shouldn't be having those kind of problems. Because that pool is not that old. You know, the showers, I mean, those kind of things should have been taken care of
when it was built.
At the very beginning when it got built. But we're here and we gotta address it and then move on.
Right, and I can address the other issues. I don't know what's going on with the vacuum. I can address that. We can make sure, I mean, we clean all the time as much as we can, with the guys that we do.
And it might be somebody that was disgruntled, I don't know. You know, it kind of caught my eye and.
Yes, sir. I hate seeing that, yeah. We'll get on that.
Anyway, any other questions for?
So remind me again, the number 1 and 2 again? The gym floors was 1.
Yes, ma'am.
The shower stalls.
Shower stalls were 2.
If you got the chart in front of you, the project information chart.
I'm just looking at it on the screen, but I see it, but I just wasn't sure if something had changed up. So both of the things for the rec are going to be at the new recreation center, none at the adult center or the other one, or they're separate, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, the recreation, we talk about recreation center, not at the adult center, right? Just to make sure.
Correct.
No, I just mean they're separate?
No, they're together.
They're together. They're together, but you're right, the 2 items are for the rec center.
Yeah, the new one, the new building, not the 20-year-old building over there, but the new building. Or getting all the, okay. All right, I'm just trying to get an understanding. Ridiculous.
Do you need me to list these with the motion?
If you trust that I have it, I'm okay with it, but if you want to list them, you're okay to do that too.
We didn't list them at the other meeting. We just said the number 1 and 2s as stated by each staff, each one. We didn't list them all.
Okay.
So if we, I guess that's the end of the discussion for the project. So now if we can have a motion of the top two for each one.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I make a motion for the ICIP for general services for each department as discussed, that Ms. Jennings and Elizabeth have both written down the item number 1 and 2 for each department.
A second.
I think it would be important that we read each one as
So,
was
yeah, I can do
discussed.
that. For the library, number 1 would be the outdoor play and learning area. Number 2 would be the library bookmobile. For facilities, or the museum, the Walden Museum, sorry. Number 1 would be the HVAC unit replacement and HVAC electrical sub-panel addition. Number 2 is the museum store move, lobby renovation, and creation of family gallery. For facilities, number 1 is City Hall roof, not Annex 2. Number 2 is the Annex roof.
I tried.
Got it. For parks, number 1 for the cemetery is the install water well. Number 2 is replace irrigation system. For Parks and Rec, number 1 would be, excuse me, playground replacement and upgrade. Number 2 would be neighborhood park trails upgrade. For athletics, number 1.
Page 15.
Number 1 is number 13, which is the athletic field lighting. Number 2 would be the Stiles Field Sports Complex improvements. For Spring River Zoo, number 1 is the zoo improvements for new train indoor track. Number 2 is the pond upgrades. For facilities for recreation, number 1 is the gym floor resurfacing. Number 2 is the recreation and aquatic center shower stall remodel.
Golf.
Oh, golf.
Golf was combined.
Okay, I see it. Golf, number 1 is pro shop, roof, and cart barn, and number 2 is the wash drains to wash 3 cars.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Halverson. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilor Moore, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the pickleball. Consider approval of outdoor pickleball courts at Roswell Adult Center. Jim?
Here, councilors, I'd like to introduce you to this project. Was presented to us by Marilyn. You might step up here, if you would please. We're asking permission to follow the same concept as we have with the trails, with leasing the properties to these foundations and let them do the work and bring it back. So we would ask your recommendation and approval to go ahead and put pickleball courts in the parking lot there at the adult center with the foundations help. So I'll turn it over to Carolyn here, let her explain as the pictures of where it goes.
Can we have your name and
I'm Carolyn
address?
Mitchell. I'm president of the Roswell Adult Foundation, and this is Larry McQuarrie. He's the vice president of the foundation. We've been talking for a long time about wanting to do something special. The whole purpose of our foundation is to support the adult center, and that's our bylaws require that we can't go outside the physical property of the adult center. So we know that lot is it's vacant. It is owned by the city. It will fit 4 pickleball courts. We've had Smith Engineering prepare the schematics for us. It's all been measured. There's a few slight changes we would need to make probably in our plans, but we are asking for permission with you to probably have a lease on the property for a shorter period of time while we can complete the courts, have them inspected and certified as everything's done according to plan. I talked to Lewis about everything. It's going, we're going to tweak it, maybe take a fence out here and put one up higher here or whatever. But we're going to pay for it entirely. The city will not pay any responsibility for the engineering on it. We're going to procure a certified, licensed and bonded contractor to work with. And it will be done once it's completed and approved. We will terminate the lease and it will become maintenance for the city. And we also look at it as a fundraiser possibly for the adult center. People will be coming in there, it will attract more people. They'll know what's going on at the adult center. They'll see the classes, they'll see the facilities, they can use the bathroom there. They might join. It's a win-win for everyone, we think.
It didn't go to the Parks Rec Commission. It was voted 4-0 to move forward. It was approved from here, and then we'll try to get legal and mimic the contract that was worked out with the Trail Foundation.
So I was going to ask, would the motion have to say, send it to legal to work on a lease agreement?
Yeah, because right now, if I understand correctly, you're just looking for an agreement from the city to lease, to try and get the plans done.
But we couldn't move forward, we were told. We haven't hired a contractor yet. But we needed to approval from this committee. According to what I heard Tom say today, until we have a contractor, legal can't approve it because we don't have a physical description of exactly where it's going to be. So we're jumping through one hump and jumping back through another.
Mr. Chair, if I may, so want to thank the foundation for all their work and thoughtfulness was putting funds together for this project. As you know, pickleball has become a very popular sport across the nation and here in our community and surrounding communities. So what, and Carolyn, Ms. Mitchell, and Mr. McCrary have been fantastic in presenting us their information, what they wanted to do. And they'd come and ask ahead of time, can we do this with the city? And of course, you know, there's the prevailing wage issue, which necessitates the contract or lease to allow them to construct. So what we need at this point, I think Jim Sexy have looked at these plans as well. What we need at this point is permission to go forward so they can go ahead and get their contractor. That contractor would identify the specific area and measurements for this so we can get drainage correct. Also, so we can write up the legal agreement for the lease. And then we bring that to the council.
The only question that I would have is, you're coming in representing the foundation for the adult center, right? You're not representing the pickleball. I guess they have an association.
No, but we have used the rules and regulations from the United States Pickleball Association, like the Tennis Association, whatever, the US, to get measurements and everything.
Because there's a group that uses the tennis courts for pickleball. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have a pickleball association, like a league.
That's a club.
Yeah. Or a club.
That's just a club of people here that play pickleball.
Okay.
So
those people.
But they would much rather play at what we're going to build.
Well, they've received some input from that organization, yes.
I guess what I'm getting at is those individuals would not be playing pickleball at the tennis courts.
Doesn't have anything to do with this.
That's up to them.
It's wherever they want to play. Once we get these built, they can play wherever they can.
So we would leave the tennis courts as is so they can.
Not my problem.
No, I'm not. I'm asking Jim.
We were actually instructed by council to stripe all 6
right
courts the way they are, and they would remain that way until we were instructed by council to do something else. This is just to add by the adult center new courts because it's growing and utilizing someone else's funding to do that.
Yeah, sure.
So it works for us, and if we lease the property, like I said, we stay below prevailing wages, so we get more bang for our buck. And, you know, Lewis is come up with some engineering estimates and so on. So everybody's kind of working together. We just got to get it going and this is basically the second time this has happened with the city trying to lease property and help out these organizations and Roswell. So that's where we're at.
Good.
That's a win for everybody.
The Roswell Adult Center Foundation has been around for a long time. It was started in 1984. And we've been supporting the extras for the adult center that entire time. And we still do.
Is there questions from committee members? Any questions from the people attending in person? Any questions from the people attending online?
Chair, I think it's a great idea. I was laughing because I was in California and I was like, oh, they're playing pickleball. And everybody was like, what do you know about pickleball? And so it was funny. Then I was like, well, I see, we have these courts in Roswell. And so I act like I was really, knowledgeable and stuff. So I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. I had suggested maybe a couple of years ago, that we use the Yucca Center lot to build pickleball courts at that time. But it obviously didn't put on. But it's a better idea.
Mr. Chair, again, I would just reiterate, thank you to the Adult Center Foundation. And oftentimes we have a lot of people with great projects, and it requires a huge or tremendous city expenditure or investment. They're not asking us for this. They're wanting to fund this the whole way. I'll just share with you. I went down and got my annual membership at the Adult Center, and I love what's going on over there. That is a wonderful facility and wonderful people down there volunteering and visiting and utilizing the facility. And I think this would improve that much.
Great. Anybody else? Any other discussion? If not, I guess we're ready for
Try to do a motion.
No,
Mr.
you
Chair,
get it.
I move that we allow the Adult Center Foundation to work with a contractor to develop the south parking lot of the Roswell Adult Center. I move that we send it to legal so they can work out a lease agreement with the Roswell Adult Center Foundation.
That said, it doesn't have to go to legal yet. It's got to go to the council first. And then
I was gonna.
I mean.
Yeah, because I think you have to give the permission.
Okay.
Before.
Then my motion is to allow the Adult Center Foundation to utilize this property, to go to full council, I guess on the regular agenda to discuss it.
Yeah. We have a motion by Councilor Halverson. Is there a second? Councilor Sanchez?
Sanchez.
Oh, Councilor Sanchez beat you.
Okay. I'm really slow then, huh?
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carried. And thank you all for being here.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on to your department reports, we were here to support if there were any technical questions with the pickleballs, but I'd like to introduce James McCornack to the general service and the other department heads. He's the new senior engineer, AKA assistant city engineer. And I'll let him introduce himself and give a quick resume.
Sure, thank you. Chairman, councilors, again, my name is James McCornack. Grew up in Albuquerque, been down in Roswell since 2007. Got my engineering degree from UNM. Worked a little bit for an aviation company in Albuquerque, then for a long time with New Mexico Gas Company here in Roswell, then Department of Transportation, and then Lewis lured me over here. So I'm glad to be here and glad to be working for the city.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yay, Lewis.
And as far as the reports, I leave it up to the department heads if you want to give a report. Will you hear them? Because I know that I read them. I don't know if everybody else reads them or not.
Glad somebody reads them.
I read them. Read me.
So I'll leave it up to the department heads, whoever's responsible for the reports, if you want to give them.
I just sit there and say, does council have any questions? Probably.
I don't.
I'm worried. Thank you, everyone. Hey, we're still in meeting.
We haven't adjourned yet. And I guess we don't have any questions, so this meeting will be adjourned at 5:46. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll take back the adjournment. Any public participation, whether anybody here or online?
Hey, Rita, he asked for public participation.
I guess not, so the meeting will adjourn at 5:46.
Yeah, I wish they wouldn't ask my wife if she gets something.